Welcome back, everybody. This is the Sports File, a 35-year reboot. This is episode number 25. Today's episode, we're going to recap the Boston Red Sox and baseball in general. Kind of my newfound interest in it this year. It's been a while since we've chatted. The last episode was in April, so it's been months, literally, since I've thrown one of these out. We'll also talk about the Denver Broncos. They're opening up training camp. A little bit about the Tottenham Hotspurs and the success they had and moving forward in the Prem League and Champions League coming up. And then we'll talk more of a kind of high-hitting talk on all things WWE, the state of that right now. Topic number one, the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox, they were kind of 500 going into the All-Star break, and then they unleashed a 10-game hitting streak, and I think hopes became pretty high of what they could be. They felt like it was all starting to click, and then sure enough, they come out of the All-Star break, and I think they're 1-4 now coming out of the break, maybe 1-6. Last night's game ended with the Phillies walking off on a catcher's interference play, which is unheard of. What's interesting about the Red Sox is they went ahead before the All-Star break and traded Devers, and in my opinion, good riddance. Rafael Devers just, Tristan Cost, the first baseman, got hurt. And they asked Devers to play first base, and he refused. He said, I think I've earned the respect, I think is his last quote. And here he is when he was traded to the Giants. They've asked him now to play first base. He did some fielding, and he, of course, suddenly, okay, I'm good with that. I'll be fine with that. And now he's playing first base. I think when the reporters asked him at the game, why are you willing to play that position for the Giants, not the Red Sox? Quote, Devers said he felt he had earned some respect because of his production in Boston, adding that he would have made the switch if the Red Sox had asked at the beginning of spring training. That's a little bit of a revisionist history, right? I mean, they signed Alex Bergman from the Astros to essentially play third base, which made Devers move to DH. Tristan gets hurt, really early, and here he is, suddenly, I don't want to play first base. I mean, this guy to me seems like a malcontent. There was even some reports out there from the great Will Clark from the San Francisco Giants offered to kind of give him lessons at first base and said, I'll show up early and help you and move to the switch. And Devers apparently never showed. They both deny that now, but again, where there's smoke, there's typically fire. Devers has struggled since moving to the West Coast. He's only batting .219 with 2 homers and 10 RBIs in 29 games. So he's really, really been struggling. The Red Sox, I think they're, I love the Red Sox. I think they're an interesting team, a fun team. I love how they brought up Roman Anthony. I think he was the number 1 rated prospect in all of baseball. High expectations for him. Duran, I just think, is fantastic. I love Jared Duran in this team, which is interesting because he's now considered to be sort of on the move. Allegedly, he's the second highest player. I'd be shocked if the Red Sox unload him. They control him through 2028. And if they do that, that's a clear sign that the Red Sox are just, in my opinion, not in it to win it. They're more in it to make some money as an organization as opposed to spending money to win. I mean, this guy's going to probably demand if he keeps playing, he's, above average, doing really, really well. Regressed a little bit this year. But overall, I think I would say he's a great addition to the Red Sox. He's been great for them. When I look at where they rank him right now from the Athletic trade targets, he's number 2. They put kind of a caution, deal likelihood caution, and their value is a controllable, do-everything outfielder. He is. He's been playing center field a lot, which frees up if they want to move Anthony out there to left field or someone else. He's only owed $1.2 million. He's on a great contract because, again, they control him through 2028. Would make no sense. I'd love to see the Red Sox make a run. I just don't know. It depends what they do at the trade deadline. I mean, clearly, if they dump him, at the trade deadline, then that's a clear indication that they're sellers and they don't think that they have it this year and they're going to go into some sort of a quote unquote rebuild. And again, I don't think they're going to trade Durant at all. If I look at the wild card right now, as of now, the Red Sox, according to the Athletic, they would be in just barely. They're a half a game in front of the Rays for the final spot. So Red Sox got to get going here. They got to start winning some games. But again, it's been fun to watch them, and which leads me to baseball in general. I have watched more baseball this year. I watch it pretty much every night, and it's not. I mean, I love the Red Sox. Living out here in Denver, it's really hard to be a Rockies fan. There is not much to root there. The only thing to root for is the new kid they drafted, Ethan Holiday, son of the great Matt Holiday from the Rockies. Which, interestingly enough, they're going to give him the largest signing bonus ever out of high school at $9 million. I just read this morning. Rockies are a tough watch, but I love watching the Phillies. The Phillies are like one of my favorite teams to watch right now. Bryce Harper's great. Schwarber's fantastic. Schwarber is just so good. Clutch. He's been on a roll with home runs. He hit that innovative, which is one of the reasons why I think I'm back into baseball is some of the changes. I mean, the pitch clock has totally helped. The bigger bases has helped. The pitch clock is a big difference. I think we talked about this earlier. I think it shaves off over 20 minutes per game. And so it really started making me watch a lot more baseball. I subscribe to MLB TV. I kind of follow the Phillies a lot now because I love the makeup of that team. I watch the Red Sox almost every night, at least a few innings. It's great background TV when there's nothing else on, just to watch. And again, the games are fast now, so it's not a huge commitment. I think the average game now is going, 2 hours 15 minutes, something like that. So not a big commitment. And again, it's more background. So if you're reading or you're doing something, you can kind of look up and see that the game's on. The Dodgers are just incredible to watch. The other night we were watching the Dodgers. Shohei's kind of going through his rehab starts, pitched 3 innings. He became the first pitcher since like the early 70s. He allowed a home run, and then he came up to bat and hit an absolute bomb with Mookie Betts on base. Former Red Sox player is out there now, Mookie Betts. I mean, just incredible. When you watch Shohei Ohtani, even his pitching now, he's got some nasty stuff. He throws it hard, 98, 99, and then he drops this like change-up curveball coming in at 83, and it's nasty. There is so much movement on it, and when he's throwing that on the inside part of the plate, he sort of reminds me of the movement he gets a lot of Pedro Martinez when he was with the Red Sox, the way he's able to grip the ball and spin it. Shohei's amazing. He's unbelievable. We could debate, he signed a $700 million contract. My wife's quick to point out that's ridiculous. All salaries in these professional sports are sort of ridiculous. But again, what he's drawing into the fan base of LA, the amount of flights coming in from Japan just to watch him play, since that's where he's from. They have sold out the hotels around Dodger Stadium because of him, right? He brings in so much dollars. I would love to figure out the actual dollar amount. Maybe I'll do some research on ChatGPT of figuring out how much dollars he's actually brought in for the Dodgers. I'm willing. His contract is going to be paid for. And he's such a good dude. I think he's such a great guy. He's so much fun. My son, who went to school out in California, went to a Dodgers game in the spring. And his takeaway was he is so big. Like, he's just tall. He's just bigger than everybody else out there. He's fast. He stole over 50 stolen bases last year with 50 home runs. He's just a freak, really. He's a modern-day Babe Ruth. And so he's just been great to watch, too. So baseball, I'm totally back into it, which I sort of got away from it a lot because the games were so long. But I really am. I'm really enjoying watching baseball now at this point, and I love following it along, and I love the innovative rules. Like at the All-Star game, rather than going into extra innings, they just had a kind of a hit off is what they called it, 3 pitches, and that's where Schwarber hit the 3 bombs for the National League to win it, which is just super exciting and interesting to see. So that's the scoop with all of Sorry for the background noise there. I was updating a device and it connected. Anyways, this is what you get when I don't do any editing. So it's just been a joy to watch baseball. So our next topic. All right. Denver Broncos start training camp. Hard to believe what's here. It's definitely getting into late July. Broncos are there. Broncos, if we were to quickly, while I'm talking to you guys, I was watching the great Colin Cowherd the other day at the Herd 2 days ago, and he essentially did a whole segment on the Broncos and ratings. ESPN analytical team went ahead and kind of unbiasedly looked at kind of the ratings of players and how they score. The Broncos came out as the sixth strongest lineup in the NFL. So they believe that they've got the sixth most talented team in the NFL, which is, you've got to give it to Sean Payton. I mean, this guy, and to put it in perspective, Colin's point was New Orleans in the same rating is ranked 32nd, where Sean Payton was for years, right? So you really question, Sean Payton is a great coach, but he must be an incredible GM too to spot this talent and get these players performing. I mean, they arguably are going to they're the favorites to have the number one overall defense this year. Bo in year two should really flourish, I think. I don't think we're going to see a sophomore slump, in my opinion. I think they're going to really, do some good things, and I am so high on the Broncos right now. I mean, I think that this division, they're in my opinion, the toughest division there is in all of football, with KC, the Chargers, the Raiders running it behind. I'm going to pull up their schedule now. You can kind of go through. This is, here's my prediction basically on the wins for the Broncos, right? We'll count it up here, what I think that they can achieve. So if we look at the Broncos' schedule, September 7th, this is all things considering they're healthy, right? Which it's very idealistic to think that they're going to get unscathed, but my big premise is Bo Nix stays healthy and continues to thrive under Sean Payton. And the defense is just ridiculously good. I think it points in the direction. So, opening game, Titans Broncos. That's at home. That's a W. So we'll give them. That's one win. We'll count this up. Broncos go to the Colts. I think Broncos win there. They're 2-0 now. Broncos at Chargers. Tough game. Tough game. I'm going to say that's a loss. So we're now at 2-1. Bengals at Broncos. This is going to be such a good game, especially if Joe Burrow's healthy. I'm such a huge Joe Burrow fan. I watched the quarterbacks on Netflix last week, and Joe Burrow, if he can stay healthy, he is so friggin' good. And he just seems like a good dude too. Bengals at Broncos. I'm going to say the Broncos win this game because it's early in the season as well. So that gets them to 3-1. Broncos at Eagles, that's a loss. They're now 3-2. Broncos at Jets. I mean, Broncos by $1 billion at this point. They're now 4-2. Giants at Broncos, they're 5-2. That's a win. Cowboys at Broncos, that's a win. They're now 6-2. Now it's going to get a little challenging here, kinda. Broncos Texans. Let's say C.J. Stroud bounces back. They're now 6-3. That's a win for the Texans. Raiders at Broncos. That's a win. They're now 7-3. Chiefs at Broncos. I do think the Broncos win that game. They're 8-3. I think you're going to see the Chiefs sort of pull back. I mean, I think they won. It was something ridiculous, like 7 games last year. And I just don't see them won 7 games by like a point or less last year. So I just don't see them doing that. Travis is getting older. But they always have Mahomes, so you never know. So they're now 8-3. Broncos at Commanders, that's a loss. I mean, Daniels is incredible. Commanders are probably moving up really hard. They're a good team. They're now 8-4. Broncos at Raiders. I mean, I can't even... Who the heck is the Raiders quarterback at this point? Who knows, right? So they're now 9-4. Packers at Broncos. Let's give them a win. That's 10-4. Jaguars Broncos. Jaguars are terrible. They're now 11-4. Broncos at Chiefs. That's a loss. 11-5. Chargers at the Broncos. That's 12-5. So realistically, they could get to 12-5 if everything holds true. If Bo Nix is healthy, and the defense is as good as we think they are under Vance Joseph. This is a really good team. I think you're going to see prediction time. Chargers versus Broncos battling for the AFC West title. I think you see the Chiefs finally pull back. But I think the Broncos at 12-5 easily get into the playoffs, and then we'll see. Topic number 3, the Tottenham Hotspurs. So Tottenham, been a while. So I think last time we talked, they put all their cards into Europa, and sure enough, the Tottenham Hotspurs bring back their first European championship in 41 years, and their first cup in 17 years. They played great. I mean, they really did. It was such an exciting game. I remember watching it thinking, and I stood for like the last 10 minutes. I was beyond stressed out since it was only 1-0. And it was such a great performance by that team. They really, really rallied. They all went in. I mean, it is a little bizarre. We'll get into it a little bit, but they win Europa, which qualifies them to win Champions League, or to go up to Champions League rather next year, which Tottenham's a top 6 club in Premier League. That is the stated goal every year, right? To get into Champions League. So now they're back in there, yet they end up finishing 17th in Premier League. Just not great. Which leads to Big Ange getting sacked by Daniel Levy. When they won, there's this, people make fun of the Tottenham by saying that's so Spursy, meaning like it would be something like years ago they were getting ready for the finals and they sacked their coach, Jose Mourinho, one of the greatest managers of all time. They sack him. And they called it so Spursy, like that's such a Spurs thing to do. Of course, they did something boneheaded like that, right? That's the best way to think about it. So they win. They even lean into that thing. The players are saying, no, that's so effing Spursy was one of their quotes, meaning like we won, haha, making fun of themselves for that. No more Spursy talk. And then what do? They sack Ange. I mean, in one sense, you can kind of get it. I mean, he really did put all his cards into Europa. His stated quote was, I always win a cup in year 2, and he did it. I mean, that's amazing. And if you're Levy, you're probably thinking, I mean, awesome, we won a cup, fantastic. But Premier League, we finished 17th, which is right above, the relegation line, right? So they didn't get relegated. And they weren't any in danger. I think they had a 10-point spread. So they were never really going to get relegated. But it just does speak volumes of, I think, you got to show up in both leagues. And at the end of the day, it really is about the Prem League. And so if you're Levy, you're probably thinking, yep, you won the Europa, we're back in Champions League, but we performed poorly in Premier League. So do I keep Ange around this year? And then if he goes off to a bad start, season's starting up here pretty soon in early August. They're already in training camp and preseason right now. If I keep him and we get off to a slow start, I'm going to have to make a change, right? I'm going to have to make a change soon. And then I'm either stuck with an interim or I'm looking at someone who's on the bench who is out there, whether, I'm just throwing out names, Graham Lloyd. Maybe they go after Mauricio, who's currently the former Spurs manager, who's now at managing Team USA. I don't know. So Levy, I think, looked at it and said, look, if I'm going to make a move, I'm going to make it now, because there's a coach or manager I've had my eyes set on for a while who's been leading Brentford in the Premier League. And with the budget he has, he's just been performing pretty well, Thomas Frank. So Levy pulls the trigger, sacks Ange, and then says, we're going forward with Thomas Frank. I think he understands the importance. He's been able to get Brentford to perform with a limited budget. What could he do with a Big 6 club in Premier League like Tottenham? So we'll see how they adapt to his play. They did get fairly comfortable with some of their signings over the year. Signing Kudos was an amazing signing for them. They're definitely trying to go after this guy, Gibbs White, who's a rising star. We'll see where that ends up being. They triggered the release clause of 60 million, but then his club stepped in and said, "Wait, I think they're poaching him. Can we look into this?" Nottingham Forest did. Um, you know, I I think this happens all the time. Honestly, I think Nottingham Forest, if we came back and said, "Hey, we'll give you," I think Levy right now is probably trying to negotiate it because what's unique in soccer is that players are assigned a value. And so Gibbs White has a value of 60 million. And a club can literally go in and say, "We're taking him. We're going to pay the 60 million. We've negotiated a player contract," and then you move him over. And it's called the release clause exit. And so they did that, which you see, once or twice. A lot of these big name players have ridiculous figures on them, like $1 billion. Like Mbappe would have a $1 billion release clause, which is interesting with the Saudis getting active. Do the Saudis eventually pull the trigger on that at one point and pull $1 billion release clause, which would be interesting. But anyways, they're trying to get Gibbs White, which would be just a great signing. They do on paper have a stacked roster. I think they do need to start moving some people while we're in the movement phase here that will end before it wraps up at the end of August. If anything, they've got a lot of attack, a lot of midfielders right now. So it'd be interesting to see if they make a move. We'll see what they do. I think it's great that they're back in Champions League, but I think they do need to perform pretty well. There's high expectations with Thomas Frank, and so we'll see where they go with Tottenham. All right, topic number 4, WWE. So WWE, as you guys know, I've been a fan since I was a kid. Some people, it's like a little secret of mine, but I've talked about it here before. I've done recaps of like the Rumble and a WrestleMania, so it's just a thing I've always liked and enjoyed. I think there is like this. A lot of people really wonder, like, really, but 3 million people watch Monday Night Raw on Netflix, and then another 3 million watch it on USA for Friday Night SmackDown. So it's a thing, and I've gone to some live events. Tried to get my kids into it. They were when they were little, and they were smart, and they got out, and here I am still rooting for it. Anyways, WWE had a PLL event, the Premium Live event, which is essentially a new name for a pay-per-view. In the U.S., it's on Peacock. Rest of the world, it's on Netflix. And so they ran a PLE event called Evolution, which is an all-women's event. It was great. It was super entertaining. They had done this many years ago. I think it was back in 2019 is when they did the first all women's, once they kind of got over the old, divas thing, the attitude era where women were kind of there but not really. Now these women can actually wrestle and put on super entertaining matches. We'll kind of go through some of the highlights here and what I thought. Jade Cargill wins a no-hold-bar match. She defeated Naomi, who Naomi's new character is this essentially crash-out queen who wears caution tape, which she's a heel. Heel equals bad guy. She's been great as this new role. I love watching Naomi. They had Stephanie Vecquar win the Battle Royale. 20 women were in this. She earned a shot at WWE Clash in Paris for a title shot. You had JC Jane defeated Jordan Grace. This is an NXT talent. NXT is kind of the third brand. You've got Raw, SmackDown, NXT. It's kind of their developmental brand. So a lot of people get promoted up from there to the main roster. Tiffany Stratton, the current World Women's Championship, defeated Hall of Famer Trish Stratus. Trish is still doing it at 49 and looks fantastic and competes really, really well, much more so than she ever did. She kind of came up in the Attitude Era, which was more, they didn't have a huge role. They did crazy stuff that we don't have to get into. What they made the women do, but way back when it was really crazy. You had Becky Lynch retained her Intercontinental title against Lyra, which was great. And Bayley, was a triple threat match. Becky is just playing a heel, a bad guy, and she's so good at it right now. She's been doing great. To the most entertaining match for me was the tag team title. This was a fatal 4-way match. You had Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. They retained their tag titles against collection of folks, a tag team title from NXT. And then you also had Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair team up. I mean, these are two heavyweights in the women's division. Charlotte has 14 titles, I think, to her name. Her father is Ric Flair, who's, arguably the greatest of all time. Charlotte has been tagged up with or teamed up with Alexa. I mean, Alexa Bliss, since she was out for a couple years, essentially she had a baby and was gone, and she came back at the Royal Rumble. She had the biggest pop of the night by far. She is so over with the fans. She is, I mean, people, whether she's a good guy or a bad guy, they absolutely eat her up. And so she was tagged up with Charlotte. Charlotte, when she came back too at the Royal Rumble, got a nice pop, and after that, they were booing her hard. I don't know where this came from. She became incredibly unlikable, and I think behind the scenes, newsflash, WWE is scripted. It's a scripted TV show. So, these are all kind of expected outcomes. Whoever wins a match, it's predetermined, and then they go and execute on it. And the storytelling is all written, and they're reading from it. So that's the scoop. If those that weren't aware, newsflash, wrestling isn't real. It's scripted. They teamed her up with Alexa, and literally in the last 4 weeks, leading up to Evolution and then after now, Charlotte is so over with the fans. I mean, she was getting a chance of, we want Charlotte in the match. I mean, she has just become a fan favorite again, and I think that's the power of someone like Alexa, and so super smart by WWE teaming these two together. And what will end up happening, they're going to be going to the premiere event coming up here at SummerSlam in the next 2 weeks. That's a two-day event over the weekend at the Meadowlands in New York. And, these two are going to probably win the championship, my guess. You'll see them beat Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez to become tag team champions. I think this will be Charlotte's second time winning that, along with her 14 titles, and this will be Alexa's fourth time winning this. She has 5 championships, and this will be her 4th tag team title. So it's awesome to see them together. They're doing this kind of hokey thing. We're not friends, but it sort of works. They're allies of convenience, trying to say we're not friends, but they do team up really, really well together. And what's leading, in my opinion, a prediction time is eventually you're going to see these two, because all tag teams break up. I think they keep Charlotte as the good guy, the baby face, as that's what they call a good guy. And I think you see Alexa turn heel and turn on Charlotte at one point. It's going to happen, and there will be a breakup. And Alexa hasn't been a heel in a long time. You have to go back to 2019-ish when she played the goddess character, which she was basically the high school bully. She was fantastic in that role, and she continues to perform well. We got SummerSlam coming up. Unfortunately, a couple big names are hurt. Seth Rollins got hurt at one of the events, so he won't be competing in it. But so far you have John Cena. I'll give you some predictions here. John Cena versus Cody Rhodes in a street fight. I think you see John win this, retain the belt. He's on his retirement tour. I don't think he drops the belt just yet. He's going to. He's playing a bad guy for the first time in his career. I think he eventually drops it. What would be super interesting is if they turn Cody Rhodes. He becomes the bad guy. You kind of get a double turn, they call it. You get Cody goes bad and John goes back to good. That'd be interesting to see, which very well could happen. You could see Cody getting so frustrated that he resorts to essentially cheating to win this match, even though it's a street fight and everything's legal. I could see somehow or another he does like low blows and stuff like that. That would be interesting. You have Gunther versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. I think Gunther wins that. Gunther's, in my opinion, the most underrated performer out there. He's fantastic on the mic. He's like an old school wrestler, old school moves like grappling, sleeper holds, stuff like that. He's very methodical. I think he's fantastic. World Championship, Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill. I think you see Tiffany beat Jade. I'm not a huge Jade Cargill fan. She came over from AEW, and she just doesn't do much for me. I mean, Tiffany is just, she's really over. It'd be good to see her go back to being a heel. I think she's better in a heel. I think she should be a heel. Play more like that goddess character I was just talking about, like Alexa plays. And then Jade is the baby face. It'd be good to see. Maybe Jade would be better as a bad guy too. Maybe that's why she doesn't. I don't know. I don't find her personality anything. And to me, in wrestling, there's two factors: can you perform in the ring, and can you get on the mic? And I think Jade is kind of weak on the mic, which maybe is one reason why. Naomi versus Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley. Oh, Naomi did cash in her Money in the Bank contract to become the championship, so she is the champion. I think Naomi retains here. I don't think we see a title flip here at all. Even though I think a lot of people would think Rhea would do it, I think Naomi's going to retain. Becky Lynch versus Lyra. I think you see Lyra get back the Intercontinental Championship, and I think you see Becky kind of move up. This is more of a mid-card title. Becky's a main event person. I think this is how they kind of drop her title and have her focus more on the Women's World Championship belt or the Women's Championship. It'd be kind of interesting to see Tiffany versus Becky. I think that'd be a super interesting fight. And you get these kind of hokey matches. Randy Orton and Jelly Roll versus Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul. I can't stand Logan Paul, so for that reason alone, I'll go with Randy Orton wins. The Women's Tag Championship, talked about this. I think you see Alexa and Charlotte defeat Raquel and Roxanne. This will be a flip of the title, so you'll see the title change hands. And then you have Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu. I think you will see. I would love to see Solo win this match. I think he's so good. I love Solo as a bad guy, and he's got personality. But I could see WWE making the flip and putting it on Jacob. So we'll see. They have their predictions here. We also have, we have Dominic in the next card. Intercontinental Championship is Dominic Mysterio versus AJ Styles. I'd love to see them put a belt on Styles. He's so underutilized and he's so good. And Dominic's fantastic, but AJ is like a Hall of Famer. He needs to have a belt in his hands. Then you have Roman Reigns and Jey Uso versus Braun and Bronson Reed. I think you see Roman and Jey win this one to defeat the kind of Paul Heyman's Seth Rollins stable of Braun and Bronson. Should be a good card. It's 2 nights. It's a long thing. One thing I will say that's been interesting lately is the lead up to Evolution and the lead up to SummerSlam usually get some good storytelling, and it feels like these are being put together pretty quickly now. I don't know if they have too many of these PLE events right now, that they're not able to get into storytelling like they used to, but it just feels flat right now that we're rushing into these. Like there was no build-up for Evolution. Even these SummerSlam cards were 2 weeks out, and we just found out about the Women's Tag Team Championship, and there's no good, compelling, long-term stories. There's a couple, I think, when we look through this, that have been going on. Obviously, John Cena and Cody, that's been going on for a while, that feud. The Gunther CM Punk is rushed together. What else is Becky and Lyra's been a long-term one that's been going over for a while. That's a good one. The Randy gimmick one is whatever. Solo Jacob, that's been building for a little while. Dominic AJ, that's rushed together. Roman and Jay versus Braun and Bronson, sort of rushed together. It's sort of getting a little tired with the old Roman. I mean, Roman Reigns is amazing. He's so good. But it's getting a little tired at this point. Him going against his former stables or people that were associated with him. And he's only a part-timer now, so I get what they're doing, but it does get a little tiring. Anyways, long edition of the Sports File. Going to try to really push these out a little bit more frequently now, back into the saddle with it. This has been episode number 25 of the Sports File, a 35-year reboot, and I'll talk to you soon.